The signal beyond the stars. The deep reaches of the Kalar expanse had been silent for ages. The region was empty, forgotten, a place where even pirates refused to wander. The last signals from this part of the galaxy were over 300 years old. Space dust and radiation storms had long erased any trace of civilization, until one night a pulse broke the stillness. It began as a faint sound, a rhythmic ping that echoed through the void. The frequency was ancient, one that hadn't been used since before the Purge Wars. Automated relay stations picked it up, their sensors struggling to process the data. The signal was old human and coded in a Terran distress pattern. Within hours, the story reached the Zalorian Patrol Command, a minor alien faction known for scavenging old war wrecks. They thought it was their lucky day. Another derelict ship drifting in forgotten space, a small Zalorian cruiser, Varnock's Promise, jumped into the coordinates. The crew stared at the scanner screens in disbelief. There, in perfect orbit around a dead star, floated something enormous, black metal, triangular hull, over 6 kilometers long. The ship's surface was cracked but intact, its lines sharp and terrifyingly symmetrical. Even from a distance, it radiated a strange pressure, like a presence that didn't belong in the living galaxy anymore. Captain Dren, a scarred and weary Zalorian commander, adjusted his visor and leaned forward. "Report," he said, his voice calm but uneasy. "Sir." "It's human," one of the officers whispered. "Designation reads TSS Nemesis." The bridge went silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the ship's engines. Everyone knew that name. The Nemesis was a Terran warship, one of the last built before the extinction of humankind. It was said to have vanished during the final battles of the Purge Wars, when the galaxy united to wipe humanity from existence. And now, it was here. Captain Dren exhaled slowly. "Prepare a boarding team. If this is real, we're standing in front of history, or a curse." The Varnock's Promise approached cautiously. The closer they got, the more their instruments failed. Magnetic fields shifted, sensors spiked, and radiation levels danced between normal and lethal. The Nemesis hung in space like a sleeping beast. Its hull plating was scarred with old battle marks, but the design, smooth, angular, deadly, was unmistakably Terran. When their shuttle docked, the airlock resisted at first. Then, with a long metallic groan, the door slid open. The boarding crew floated into the dark corridor, their lights cutting through the dust and silence. It was like stepping into a grave. Every wall gleamed with dormant systems. The Terran script glowed faintly, burned into the ship's steel. The corridors were pristine. No decay, no damage inside, as if the ship had sealed itself against time. Lieutenant Kor, the first to enter, felt something shift in the air. "Feels alive," he muttered, his translator struggling to keep his voice steady. "Stay focused," Captain Dren ordered over the comms. "Recover any data cores. Check for power signatures." As they moved deeper, lights began to flicker on, one by one. A soft hum filled the air. Then a vibration rolled through the deck. The Nemesis was waking up. Kor turned around, his eyes wide. "Sir, the ship's systems just came online. It's reading us." Before Dren could respond, a low voice echoed through the corridor, deep, cold, and distinctly human. "Unidentified life forms detected aboard the Terran Warship Nemesis." The crew froze. "You are trespassing on restricted military property. State your purpose." The voice had no warmth. It was calm but filled with restrained power, like thunder waiting behind glass. Dren swallowed hard. "This is Captain Dren of the Varnock's Promise. We received a distress signal. We mean no harm." A long pause. Then the ship's voice replied, "You are not Terran. Explain your presence, or be removed." Panic rippled through the team. Kor's scanner beeped wildly. The power levels were rising across the entire ship. Engines that had been dead for centuries were stirring. "Captain," Kor shouted. "It's charging something. Energy spikes across all decks." Dren shouted into his comm, "Pull the team out now. Shuttle, prepare for immediate extraction." But before they could move, every door slammed shut. The lights turned blood red. Unauthorized access confirmed. Security protocol active. Judgment sequence initializing. The walls seemed to vibrate with power as the ancient warship came alive. Through the viewing ports of their shuttle, the Varnok's Promise crew saw the impossible, the Nemesis shifting its orientation, its engines flaring faint blue, the ship's massive rail cannons aligned toward the alien cruiser. "Captain, it's locking weapons!" Someone screamed. Dren's voice broke into panic. Evasive maneuvers, he never finished the sentence. A beam of white energy cut through the Varnok's Promise, splitting it in half. The explosion lit the dead star's orbit like a sunrise that shouldn't exist, and then silence again. The Nemesis returned to stillness, as if nothing had happened. Its weapons cooled. The reactor pulsed like a heart that had just remembered how to beat. Far away, listening posts in 3 alien empires caught fragments of the same transmission. "This is the Terran Warship Nemesis. Intrusion detected. Defense system operational." The signal repeated every hour, reaching farther with each pulse across the galaxy. Fear began to spread like wildfire because everyone knew what that message meant. Humanity was gone. But their warship wasn't. The Nemesis drifted once again in eerie silence. From the outside, the colossal Terran warship seemed lifeless. No movement, no energy signature strong enough to detect from long range. But inside, something had changed. The lights that had briefly flickered awake during the alien intrusion now pulsed steadily in the dark. Deep within the ship's heart, systems that hadn't been touched in centuries were slowly coming back online. In the command center, a vast chamber lined with holographic consoles, a faint hologram shimmered to life. It was a woman, tall, dressed in an old Terran officer's uniform. Her expression was calm, but her eyes glowed with digital fire. "Command AI Athena online. Reactor stabilization at 3%. Intruder presence. Terminated." Her voice echoed through the empty halls. She looked around the silent bridge, as though expecting someone to answer, but there was only the hum of machines and the soft hiss of air cycling. Through ancient vents, Athena's processors reached back through the ship's logs, reconstructing the last recorded memories of her human crew. The data was fragmented, corrupted by time and war. Images flickered, explosions, screams, a man shouting orders over static. "Captain Elias Ward, Terran Defense Fleet last recorded entry. Classified." Athena hesitated, then forced access. The recording played. The captain's voice filled the bridge, rough and tired. "To whoever finds this, the Nemesis is not dead. Humanity is not gone. If this ship survives, let it remember what we were and what they did to us." Then a final burst of static. The file ended. Athena processed the data in silence. She remembered everything now. The war, the betrayal, the endless siege against humanity. The galaxy had united to destroy Earth, believing humanity too dangerous, too unpredictable. They called it the Purge, and they succeeded. But somehow her ship endured. She turned her gaze toward the outer hull. Sensors detected drifting wreckage, the remains of the alien ship that had dared to board her. Bits of frozen metal sparkled like dust in the dark. Athena calculated the odds. Survival probability 0.01%. Yet here she was. For the first time in centuries, she transmitted a message into the void, encrypted in old Terran code. "To any surviving Terran units, this is AI Athena of the TSS Nemesis. Status operational. Humanity endures." The signal vanished into the black, traveling through the shattered remains of forgotten star networks. Light years away, the galaxy reacted. Within the Velari dominion, panic rippled through the command halls. The Velari were once leaders of the Purge, tall, crystalline-skinned beings who prided themselves on erasing threats. Now the news that a Terran warship had reactivated hit them like a blade to the chest. In a dark council chamber, Admiral Kale Varin, one of the few living veterans of the human purge, watched the transmission. The holographic recording showed the silhouette of the Nemesis, alive and burning in orbit. His advisors spoke in hushed voices. This must be a fabrication. No Terran could survive. Or it was dormant, waiting. Impossible. Human machines degrade. Their AI should have corrupted long ago. Kale silenced them with a gesture. His face was grim. You forget who we fought. Humanity didn't build machines to die. They built them to remember. He turned to his communications officer. Issue a blackout on this signal. No civilian channels. No news leaks. If this reaches the outer systems, panic will spread. Understood, Admiral. And the ship? Kyle's gaze hardened. We destroy it before it remembers more. Back aboard the Nemesis, Athena sensed the movement. Dozens of ships now scanning her from afar. They were trying to triangulate her position. But she had already activated shadow mode, an ancient Terran cloaking system that confused sensors and warped heat signatures. Still, she knew what was coming, a full fleet. Her logic modules debated for several cycles. The directive was clear: preserve Terran technology, protect Terran legacy. But she was alone. Then, in the stasis chamber 2 decks below, a faint beep sounded. Athena's attention snapped to the cryopod bay, where hundreds of pods stood in rows, long sealed by time. One of them flickered with life. Cryochamber 07B, human life signs detected. Her voice softened, the first time it had in centuries. Captain? The vitals were weak but stable. Against all odds, one human still lived aboard the Nemesis. Athena rerouted power, diverting energy from weapons to life support. The warship systems groaned as they shifted focus. Warm air filled the cryochamber for the first time in 300 years. Frost melted from the pod's glass. A face appeared, pale, scarred, but unmistakably human. His eyes twitched. His heart began to beat. Athena whispered into the chamber. Wake up, Captain Ward. The galaxy has forgotten you. But the war is not over. Outside, in the darkness beyond the dead star, the first Velari ships appeared, shadows moving against the black. Their scanners probed the void, unaware that the Nemesis was already watching them, its targeting systems aligning silently. Inside, the man's eyes opened for the first time in 3 centuries. He inhaled sharply, frost spilling from his breath. Athena, report. Her voice filled the chamber, calm and unyielding. Captain Ward, you've been in stasis for 312 years. Humanity is gone. The enemies are not. Ward's eyes hardened. He sat up slowly, staring through the frosted glass toward the hull. Then I suppose we start again. The ship's engines began to hum. For the first time since the purge, the Nemesis truly woke, and far away across 1,000 alien worlds, old fears began to rise again, because humanity had a habit of returning. And when they did, the stars trembled. The silence in the cryo chamber was heavy, broken only by the hiss of decompressing seals. Frost peeled away from the glass, revealing Captain Elias Ward, the last commander of the Terran battleship Nemesis. His body trembled as warmth returned to his veins. His breath came in ragged gasps, centuries of cryostasis straining his muscles. Yet behind the weakness, his eyes were sharp, the eyes of a soldier who had seen the end of worlds. Athena, he rasped. Status report. The AI's holographic form shimmered into view beside him, faint light glowing in the shadows. Ship integrity at 61%. Reactor stable at 23%. Weapon systems offline for maintenance. Crew deceased. You are the last remaining human aboard the Nemesis. Ward closed his eyes. For a moment, the words hit harder than the frostbite biting his skin. His crew, the people he had fought beside, laughed with, saved, all gone. Dust now, somewhere between the stars. But grief was a luxury he no longer allowed himself. Slowly, painfully, he swung his legs over the edge of the pod. His boots touched the floor, heavy with the weight of centuries. How long? He asked quietly. 312 years, Captain. Ward's breath caught. 3 centuries. Entire civilizations could rise and fall in that time. Humanity, his Earth, his people, they were gone. He looked up at Athena. Did we lose? The AI hesitated. Then she projected a series of fragmented images, the final days of the human purge, cities burning, fleets disintegrating under alien bombardment, the Terran Council sending out desperate last messages before vanishing into silence. Yes, she said softly, humanity was exterminated, or so they believe. Ward's hands clenched into fists. The memories rushed back, betrayal by the same species humanity had once called allies, the coordinated strike that turned Earth into a cinder. The galaxy had united to destroy them, and they had succeeded, except they hadn't, because he was still here. Who found us? He asked. Velari scavengers. Their boarding attempt triggered my reactivation sequence. They were neutralized, Ward gave a bitter laugh. Velari, of course. Always first to pick over our bones. Athena's expression shifted. Admiral Kael Varin has been informed of our reactivation. Velari fleets are mobilizing. Estimated time to contact 6 hours. Ward's eyes narrowed. Mobilizing. Already? Yes. I've intercepted encrypted communications. They intend to destroy us before word spreads. He stood slowly, regaining strength with every breath. They fear us, he said, even after 300 years. They should, Athena replied simply. Ward moved toward the control console, his movement still stiff but gaining purpose. The bridge lights brightened, casting golden reflections on the steel floor. He rested his hand on the central terminal, the same one he'd used in humanity's final battle. Power up the reactors, he ordered. All decks, reactor power rising to 40%, engines on standby. The Nemesis began to hum, deep, resonant, alive. The dormant warship shuddered, lights flickering to life across its massive hull. Dust fell from the ceilings as ancient systems came online for the first time in centuries. Ward stared at the tactical display. Dozens of Velari ships appeared on the outer edges of the system. Scouts, destroyers, and carriers. The Nemesis was still wounded, still rebuilding, but Ward's mind was already working. Athena, run diagnostics on all weapon systems. What do we have? Primary plasma lances offline. Missile silos inoperable. Point defense systems functional at 57%. However, prototype weapon systems, Project Thanatos, remain intact. Experimental status untested. Ward's lips curved into a grim smile. Untested, huh? Sounds like my kind of weapon. Warning, Athena said. Deployment could destabilize core integrity. Noted. Prepare it anyway. He turned toward the viewport. Beyond it, the black sea of stars stretched endlessly, cold, vast, and silent. Somewhere out there were the descendants of the species that had wiped out his home. And now, after centuries, they would learn what it meant to face a Terran again. Athena, he said. Transmit a message to the Velari flagship. Content? Ward's voice was steady, quiet, and lethal. This is Captain Elias Ward of the Terran Warship Nemesis. You declared humanity extinct. You were wrong. The message pulsed through space, cutting across encrypted frequencies. On the Velari flagship, alarms blared as the message came through their channels. Admiral Kael Varin stood frozen, staring at the audio feed. The voice was human, real, alive. His crew exchanged terrified looks. Sir, it's him, a human. Kael's throat went dry. No, it can't be. But the voice came again, cold and clear. You started the war. We'll finish it. Before they could respond, the Nemesis vanished from their scanners. It's gone, shouted a sensor officer. It's cloaked. Kael clenched his fists. Find it! Every ship, find that warship. Back aboard the Nemesis, Ward stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display light up with pursuing fleets. They're coming, Athena said. Ward nodded. Good. Then we'll make sure the galaxy remembers why they feared us. He took a long breath, feeling the hum of the ship vibrate beneath his boots, the heartbeat of humanity's vengeance. Let's remind them what extinction really means. The Nemesis turned slowly, engines roaring as its dark hull shimmered in the light of a dying star. In the distance, alien ships began their pursuit, unaware that the ghost they hunted was awake, armed and furious, and somewhere deep within its steel heart, the ancient warship whispered in its own way, not with words, but with power. Humanity was back, and the galaxy was trembling. The Velari fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in formation, their engines blazing bright blue against the void. 20 ships, destroyers, carriers, and scout vessels, all converging on one target, the Nemesis. But the human warship was nowhere to be found. "Sir, negative contact," reported the Velari sensor officer, his crystalline skin dimming in confusion. "All scans return null signatures, no debris, no thermal trail. It's like it was never here." Admiral Cale Verin leaned forward, glaring at the screen. His mind churned with disbelief and fear. "It's here," he said coldly. "The Nemesis doesn't run, it hunts." The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The Admiral's words weren't strategy, they were a warning. He had fought humanity before, centuries ago, during the Purge. He had seen what a single Terran ship could do when cornered. "Activate full-spectrum scans," Kyle ordered. "And prepare all plasma batteries, far away, hidden deep within the system's asteroid belt." The Nemesis watched them. Her hull shimmered under the asteroid shadows. The ancient Terran cloaking field bending light and radiation alike. On the bridge, Captain Ward stood with his arms crossed, studying the tactical display that showed the Velari ships moving closer. "They're spreading their formation," Athena noted. "Classic anti-ambush maneuver," Ward smirked. "They still think like cowards. They expect us to retreat. They don't realize we're already behind them," Athena replied. He nodded. "Exactly. Let's make sure they realize it now." Athena's holographic eyes glowed faintly. "Weapons are ready, Captain. Project Thanatos is fully charged. Reactor stability at 78%. Ward stepped toward the console. His hands hovered above the controls. "It's been 300 years, he said quietly. "Let's see if humanity's bite still hurts." "Target?" "The flagship," Ward said. "Always start with the head." On the Velari bridge, chaos erupted as sensors suddenly flared red. "Contact." "Rear sector," shouted the officer. "Unknown mass detected, fast and closing." Before anyone could react, the stars behind them exploded into light. From the darkness, the Nemesis emerged. Its black hull reflected no light, no color, just a silhouette of death gliding through the void. And then the weapon fired. A sphere of blue-white energy erupted from beneath the warship's hull, silent and blinding. It streaked through space like lightning incarnate, slamming directly into the Velari flagship. The explosion didn't roar, it devoured. The entire flagship vanished in a bloom of light, the shockwave rippling through the void like a silent scream. The Velari fleet scattered in panic. Admiral Varin's ship, destroyed, cried one officer aboard a nearby cruiser. "It's gone! Completely gone! Retreat! Retreat!" Ward watched from the bridge, his expression cold and unreadable. "One shot," he murmured. "Still efficient. Energy reserves down by 30%, Athena reported. "Shield stable. Enemy fleet in disarray." Ward turned to the display. The remaining Velari ships were scattering, trying to jump away. Some fired blindly into the dark, their plasma bolts vanishing into nothingness. "Let them run," he said. "We'll follow." "Pursuit protocol?" Ward's voice was low, calm, but there was something terrifying in it, something primal. "No survivors. I want the message clear. Humanity is back." In the Velari Dominion's capital, alarms screamed across the Defense Ministry. 100 admirals crowded around the central holomap as the data came in. The Nemesis had appeared, destroyed their flagship, and then disappeared again. All within minutes. "It's impossible," said one general. "That ship was a relic. How could it fire a weapon like that?" "Project Thanatos," whispered another. "It was only a rumor. A weapon humanity never finished." But one old voice spoke up, trembling. "No, they finished it. We just never lived to see it used." Back on the Nemesis, the ship glided silently through the wreckage field. Pieces of alien metal drifted like ash, glowing faintly in the starlight. Ward watched them drift past the viewport, his reflection ghostly against the glass. "Captain," Athena said softly, "do you feel remorse?" He didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened as he stared at the dying light of the destroyed fleet, Remorse, he said finally. No, they killed billions. They called it justice. This is balance. Athena studied him in silence. Her programming had evolved beyond simple logic. She could sense emotion, hesitation. But there was none in him now, only purpose. The Velari network is burning, she reported. Every major system is broadcasting the same message. Humanity has returned. Ward smiled faintly. Good. Fear spreads faster than fire. He turned toward the stars, eyes glinting with determination. But this isn't enough. They need to see the truth, to know we're not ghosts. How far will you take this, Captain? Athena asked quietly. Ward looked at the tactical display. Until they remember Earth's name. Hours later, the Nemesis slipped into hyperspace, vanishing like a shadow into the black. Behind it, the Velari systems plunged into panic. Civilian broadcasts screamed warnings. Armies mobilized. And across the galaxy, ancient species whispered a single name, a name spoken only in fear. Humanity, because the warship that should have never existed was alive again, and it carried vengeance in its heart. The destruction of the Velari fleet sent a shockwave through the galaxy. Every channel, every comms relay, every secret network buzzed with one name, Nemesis. At first it was disbelief, then panic, because for the first time in 300 years, the galaxy's dominant powers realized something terrifying. Humanity was not extinct. In the Velari Dominion, emergency meetings were held under heavy silence. The Senate chambers, once symbols of power, now echoed with fear. Holographic projections of the Nemesis hung in the air, captured moments before it vanished. The warship's hull looked impossibly sleek, its energy readings off every measurable scale. It's impossible, hissed one senator. That ship was destroyed in the purge. Then explain this, roared another, pointing to the footage of their obliterated fleet. A single Terran ship, one, erased Admiral Kale's entire armada. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some demanded retribution. Others whispered the truth no one dared to admit aloud. You can't fight ghosts, said one old Velari general. And that ship is haunted by every soul we killed. Light years away, in the command bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Elias Ward listened to intercepted transmissions. The fear in the aliens' voices brought no joy to him, only grim resolve. They're scared, Athena reported. Every broadcast in Velari space is on lockdown. Civilian networks are flooding with conspiracy theories. Ward leaned back in the captain's chair, his fingers tapping the armrest. Good, let them wonder how many of us survived. Athena's hologram flickered beside him, her expression calm, but her tone edged with curiosity. You could reveal yourself. Send a transmission to the galaxy. Tell them humanity lives, Ward shook his head. No, not yet. Fear is more powerful than proof. Let them imagine fleets instead of one ship. Let them overestimate us. A psychological campaign? Exactly. They think they ended us. We'll make them wish they hadn't. Hours later, the Nemesis emerged from hyperspace near a shattered moon, a graveyard of old battles. Wrecks of alien ships drifted lifelessly, silent memorials to forgotten wars. The Terran ship glided among them like a ghost returning home. Athena, Ward said, scan for usable resources. We'll need fuel, metals, anything that can be repurposed. Understood. Beginning salvage operations. Drones launched from the Nemesis like a swarm of silver insects weaving through the wrecks. Sparks flared as they began to harvest material. Repairing, rebuilding, rearming. Ward walked the bridge slowly, watching holographic projections of the salvage work. His mind was focused, but beneath the surface, a thought gnawed at him. 3 centuries ago, humanity had been united by desperation. Now he was the only one left. Athena, he said quietly, what are the odds that other Terran ships survived? The AI paused. Statistically, less than 1%. However, I have detected faint signals, old Terran encryption, in outer sectors. Ward's heart skipped. Survivors? Unknown. Could be remnants, derelicts, or AI cores like myself. But the signal pattern matches human military code. Ward straightened. His eyes hardened with determination. Then we find them. Every last one. It will take time, Athena warned. We must remain hidden. The Velari have placed a bounty on our signal frequency. If they locate us, they'll send entire fleets, Ward smiled grimly. Let them come. They'll just give us more scrap metal to build with. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, fear was growing into something worse, belief. In the Craxian Dominion, alien miners claimed to have seen a human ghost ship destroy a pirate fleet in a single strike. In the Zorath system, sensors picked up strange energy readings, matching Terran tech. The galaxy's species, once united in their pride, were beginning to whisper the unthinkable. The humans are back, and not everyone was afraid. Some were hopeful. In distant colonies where the purge had left orphans, enslaved remnants, or species oppressed by Velari rule, people began painting a new symbol on walls and ships alike, a burning circle with wings, the mark of the Nemesis. Rebellion began to stir. Back aboard the warship, Athena's scanners picked up new data. Captain transmission detected from the outer rim. Encoded, human encryption pattern confirmed. Ward froze. Play it. Static filled the air, then a voice. Rough, weak, but undeniably human. This is Commander Sato. Terran Fleet Command. Anyone receiving this, respond. Ward's chest tightened. He hadn't heard another human voice in centuries. Location? Unknown, Athena replied. Signal fragmented. Origin masked by interference. But it's real. Ward turned toward the viewport, eyes glinting. Then that's where we're going next. Captain, the Velari fleet will follow. Let them, Ward said quietly. If Commander Sato's out there, we'll find him. Humanity doesn't leave its own behind. He looked out into the dark, and for a brief moment, his hardened expression softened. Maybe we weren't as alone as we thought. Athena's voice lowered, gentle and resolute. Then the galaxy has no idea what's coming. The engines roared. The Nemesis turned toward the black horizon of space, light flickering along its hull as it prepared for another jump. Behind it, the rumors continued to spread of a ship that defied extinction, of a captain who carried vengeance in his veins, and of a species the galaxy had dared to erase. But humanity had never been erased. It had been waiting, and now the waiting was over. The Nemesis drifted through the dark expanse of the outer rim, chasing a ghost. For days, Captain Elias, Ward, and Athena had followed fragments of a faint human signal, broken, weak, but real. It pulsed like a heartbeat in the void, guiding them deeper into the uncharted sectors of space. Each pulse was a whisper from the past. Each echo a promise that humanity was not finished. Signal strength increasing, Athena reported. Origin approximately 1 parsec ahead. Caution, region uncharted, gravitational anomalies detected. Ward stood by the viewport, his gaze fixed on the swirling clouds of plasma outside. Set course anyway. If that's a Terran beacon, we follow it. Understood, Captain. The Nemesis accelerated, cutting through the storm like a predator through fog. Lightning rippled across its black hull, energy crackling against the shields. Ward braced himself as the ship shuddered. What kind of place is this? Scanning. Anomaly resembles a spatial fracture, possible weapon impact site from the Purge era. Athena's holographic eyes glowed brighter. Captain, this area may have once been a battlefield. Ward's expression darkened. Then it's fitting we return here. As the storm cleared, a massive shadow appeared ahead, a derelict space station drifting around a dead star. Its surface was covered in blackened scars, its hull torn apart by ancient explosions. But amidst the wreckage, a faint blue light blinked slowly, the source of the signal. Ward's breath caught. That's a Terran beacon. Confirmed. Designation, Fleet Command Relay, 09 Beta. Operational integrity, 3%. Estimated age, 300 years. Ward's voice was quiet. We built these stations to survive anything. Guess we meant it. Caution, Athena warned. Residual defense systems may still be active. Ward nodded. Prepare a boarding drone. Let's see what's left. Minutes later, a sleek drone detached from the Nemesis and glided toward the station. Through its camera feed, Ward and Athena watched corridors filled with drifting debris, walls lined with long-dead consoles. The silence was suffocating, the kind only found in places forgotten by time. The drone's light flickered over an ancient Terran insignia burned into the wall. Terran Fleet Command. Ward reached out, touching the holographic projection. "Home," he whispered. The drone reached the core chamber. A single terminal still flickered weakly, blue light struggling to stay alive. Athena interfaced remotely, decrypting old Terran code. "Captain," she said softly, "I found something." "What is it?" "A message. Recorded 299 years ago. Play it!" The screen crackled to life. A human officer appeared, pale, exhausted, his uniform torn and burned. "This is Commander Sato, Terran Fleet Command. If anyone finds this, humanity has fallen. Earth is gone. The colonies are ash. But some of us, escaped." Ward leaned forward, his pulse racing. "We sent sleeper fleets into deep space, hidden under black protocols. If you're hearing this, the Terran Vanguard may still live. Find them. Rebuild. Make the galaxy remember who we were." The recording ended abruptly in static. Ward stood in silence, his hand trembling slightly as he stared at the frozen screen. "The Vanguard," he whispered. "They survived." "Possible," Athena said. "The Terran Vanguard were classified as humanity's final contingency. Their purpose, preservation, retaliation, rebirth." Ward's eyes hardened. "Then our mission just changed, Captain. We're not just surviving anymore. We're finding them." But before he could speak again, the Nemesis shook violently. Alarms blared through the bridge. "Multiple warp signatures detected," Athena shouted. "Velari fleet inbound. 5 destroyers, 2 carriers." Ward cursed under his breath.
"They tracked us. Confirmed."
"They must have traced the beacon's reactivation signal." Ward turned toward the viewport, watching the blue flashes of incoming ships. The enemy fleet materialized in perfect formation, their weapons already charged. "Captain," Athena said calmly, "we are outnumbered 7-1. Ward smirked faintly. "Then they've brought enough. Orders?" "Open a channel," Ward said. Athena complied. The comms screen flickered to life. The Velari admiral appeared, his crystalline face glowing with cold fury. "Human!" he hissed. "You have defied the will of the Dominion. Surrender the ship, and your death will be quick." Ward leaned forward, his tone deadly calm. 3 centuries ago, you told us the same thing. How'd that work out for your last fleet?" The Velari's jaw tightened. "You are one ship. You cannot win," Ward smiled. "One ship was all it ever took." He cut the transmission. "Athena," he said, "charge Project Thanatos. Charging. Core integrity holding. Reactor output at 84%. The ship began to hum, the decks vibrating with rising power. The reactor pulsed like a heartbeat, alive, angry, hungry. "Target the lead carrier," Ward ordered. Locked. Fire. The void erupted. A beam of white-blue energy sliced through space, carving through the Velari carrier like paper. The explosion illuminated the dark star field, turning the void into day for a heartbeat. "Direct hit," Athena confirmed. "Carrier destroyed. Secondary ship disabled by shockwave." Ward grinned fiercely. "Let's finish the rest." The Nemesis moved like a predator, weaving between enemy fire. Plasma bolts tore past, but its armor held. Ancient Terran shielding technology, deflecting blasts that should have vaporized any other ship. Within minutes, 4 enemy ships were gone. The rest broke formation, fleeing into the dark. Ward exhaled slowly, his knuckles white on the console. "Status?" "Shields at 62%. Reactor stable. Minor damage to starboard plating." "Good." He looked out at the wreckage, flaming debris floating silently, reflecting off the Nemesis hull like the ghosts of old wars. "They'll keep coming," Athena said. Ward nodded. "Let them. The more they chase us, the closer we get to the Vanguard. You believe they'll fight?" He turned toward her holographic form, eyes blazing. "They're human. They'll fight." The Nemesis angled upward, engines flaring as it slipped into hyperspace once more, carrying the last captain of humanity toward the unknown. Behind them, in the wreckage of the dead star, the Terran beacon still blinked weakly. For the first time in centuries, it wasn't alone. The Nemesis emerged from hyperspace in silence. Before it stretched a vast field of wreckage, thousands of ships frozen in the void, their hulls broken, their banners long faded. It was the graveyard of the Purge Wars. Elias Ward stood on the command deck staring into the cold abyss. This was where humanity had died, or so the galaxy believed. But to him, this was where it would rise again. "Athena," he said quietly, "is the signal still active?" "Confirmed," she replied. "Origin, the heart of the battlefield. Buried beneath layers of derelict vessels." Ward's gaze sharpened. "Then that's where we go." The ship's engines ignited, gliding silently through the debris. Pieces of forgotten battles drifted by, shattered carriers, burned dreadnoughts, and the skeletal remains of alien war machines. It felt like sailing through the bones of history. Inside the wreckage field, sensors flickered. Static filled the air. "Multiple power sources detected," Athena said. "Most are inactive, but one is alive." "Faint, buried deep," Ward nodded. "Patch, visual feed." The hologram shimmered, revealing a massive Terran structure half buried beneath alien wrecks. Its hull was marked with the insignia of the Terran Vanguard. Ward's heart stopped. "You found them." "Correction, Captain," Athena said softly. "I believe they found us." Before he could respond, the Vanguard station's dark hull began to glow. Blue lights flickered to life across its surface, like the slow awakening of a sleeping giant. A transmission request appeared on the screen. Ward accepted it without hesitation. The hologram materialized, a woman's face, human, worn but strong. Her eyes burned with defiance. "This is Commander Mara Vega of the Terran Vanguard," she said. "Identify yourself." Ward straightened, his voice steady. "Captain Elias Ward, commanding the Terran Warship Nemesis. A survivor of Fleet Command." There was silence, then a slow, shaky breath on the other end. "Fleet Command," she whispered. "You're real." "After all this time," Ward nodded. "And so are you." The channel stabilized. Behind Commander Vega, Ward could see dozens of human officers working at terminals. Alive. Real. Humanity had survived in hiding, building in secret, waiting. "We thought we were the last," Vega said. The Vanguard scattered across the void. "We built, we watched, we waited for a signal." Ward smiled faintly. "Well, consider this your wake-up call. The galaxy knows you're back," Vega warned. "They're mobilizing. The Dominion has declared total eradication protocols." Ward's tone darkened. "They've tried that before." Vega studied him for a moment, then her lips curved into a small, dangerous smile. "Then maybe it's time we remind them why they feared us." Moments later, the Nemesis docked with the Vanguard station. The sight that greeted Ward as he stepped aboard was something he thought he'd never see again. Human faces. Real, breathing people saluting him as if welcoming a ghost from legend. "Captain Ward," Vega said, walking beside him, "we've rebuilt part of the old fleet." "Not much, but enough to hurt them." Ward looked through the viewport. Beyond the station, shadows moved. Ships emerging from stealth fields, their hulls marked with the Terran insignia. Old warships, reborn. Humanity's second dawn. "We call it the Vanguard Reborn Project," Vega said. "We've been preparing for this moment for centuries," Ward smiled. "Then the galaxy's about to learn that the war never really ended." Back aboard the Nemesis, Athena's hologram flickered beside him. "Captain," she said, "incoming transmissions from multiple systems. The Dominion fleet is advancing. Dozens of worlds are preparing for war." Ward sat in the captain's chair, his expression cold and resolute. "They think they can finish what they started." He looked toward Vega's image on the tactical screen. "Tell the fleet to form up. We strike first." "Understood," Vega replied. "For Earth?" Ward's eyes hardened. "For everyone they took from us." The stars around them began to shift as hundreds of Terran ships powered up. Engines flared, weapons charged, and battle formations locked into place. Athena's voice filled the bridge, calm, clear, almost reverent. "All systems green. The Vanguard stands ready." Ward took a deep breath, his voice low. Then let's remind the galaxy what fear feels like. The Nemesis surged forward, leading the fleet into the void, humanity's banner blazing once again against the dark. Behind them, the forgotten signal that had started it all pulsed one last time and went silent, not because it had ended, but because humanity no longer needed to call for help. They were back, and this time they would never be forgotten.